Going through our minds on a daily basis. Anywhere between 60 to 70 random thoughts going through our minds on a daily basis. The question is how many of those thoughts are thoughts of our choosing? We go through our days feeling some kind of way and going through all kinds of emotions that we experience daily. But how much of our emotions do we really understand? Guys, what are the basic emotions that you feel? Say it again. You feel happy. Okay. And sadness. Happy and sadness. Okay. What about you?
I feel tired.
You feel tired. Okay.
Anger.
Anger is a big one for males. Girls.
Fear.
Fear. Okay. Anyone else? Frustrated? Okay. Now, our emotions are our emotional guidance system. What I mean by that is if you can't have a feeling without a preceding thought. So if you wake up in the morning feeling some kind of way, if you just process the idea of why am I feeling this way, it's because I'm thinking a thought that's causing this particular emotion. Are you with me? Yeah, that's out in another class, not in this one. Were you going to say something? So what I'm trying to share with you is emotions is energy in motion. Your emotions are powerful, but the point is, are they directing us toward any good, or are they directing us toward anger? See, based on our upbringing, that depends on our emotional IQ, or our emotional IQ depends upon our upbringing. What have we been taught? Fellas, you've been taught big boys don't cry?
Yeah.
Right? So when is the last time you shed a tear?
Oh, I cry like every day.
You cry every day?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
I only cry if they tell me if I did something bad.
If you did something wrong, you cry. Okay. What about you? When's the last time you cried, man?
Probably when my dad put bones on me when he whooped me or something.
Okay. So you cried from punishment. So why do you cry every day?
It just helps me go to sleep.
I'm sorry?
It helps me go to sleep.
And so what do you think about the cry?
Like, my grandpa's death.
Your grandpa?
Yeah.
Okay, he passed recently?
Not recently.
Okay.
Like 2 years ago.
But how many?
2 years.
Okay, so, but you use it as a mechanism to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And you feel the sadness.
Yes.
Does that work for you? I mean, is it serving you in that sadness is what I'm asking.
What do you mean? Like, it makes you sad?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, here's what I'm getting at. Our emotion is energy in motion, meaning that when we are feeling any kind of way, we're sending that vibration to the universe. You with me? And as we send that emotion out, it's going out to find like vibrations, and it's going to come back and visit you again. Now, if you're practicing the vibration of sadness, you tend or risk the fact of drawing more sadness into your experience. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, for example, when we think about the things that we desire in life, say we want, good things, whatever that is to you, that we have to be on the frequency of that good. You understand? And so I share with you the highest vibration in the universe is love. The second highest vibration in the universe is gratitude. And so we want to seek out these kinds of emotions because we know that this vibration that we're sending out is our mental children that are going to come back to visit us. In fact, they're going to come back multiply and come back to us. So we want to do what we can to stay on a high frequency or a high vibration, a vibration of feeling good. When you feel good, it's been said that when you feel good, you feel God. Well, how many of you believe in this higher power? Okay. And do you believe that this higher power resides in you?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's in the hearts of men, of all men. It's in the hearts of all. But whether we or not we feel that connection to it is something altogether different. But when we feel good, we are feeling our connection to that good. Now, if in fact we know that this higher power resides within us, do you believe that it loves you? Okay. And would you believe that it's always conspiring for your highest and best good? But it's not going to ever go against your will because you've been given free will, right? So that means that you have a role to play in this relationship because you have free will, and I like to say you have free won't, right? You can go along with it or you don't go along with it. It's your choice. So if we make the decision that we want to go along with it and we want to feel the goodness of this vibration, we've got to learn to create or to emote positive vibrations in order for us to experience it on a continuum. What do you think? What do you think?
Yes, like that's correct.
So let me take it from another perspective. Were you taught as a kid, fellas, big boys don't cry?
Yes.
Did they teach you that in your culture?
I'll say like whenever I'll say as a kid, I'll say when I cry, my dad told me like that boys don't cry.
Yeah, man up. Yeah, toughen up. How many of you believe that that's real? To man up, to not to cry, not to feel emotion is more manly. Can you get a show of hands? Okay, good for you. Because that is truly a misnomer. When I was a kid and I bumped my head on the table as a toddler, and it hurt like hell, you know, I'm crying, I'm sucking it up, right? Because my sister would run up and tell me, big boys don't cry. And that didn't hurt, and so she rubbed my head and said, that doesn't hurt. Well, it did hurt. And of course, I wanted to be a big boy, so I sucked it up. Big boys don't cry, right? Because of course I want to be a big boy. So we have this misnomer as to what manhood or being a big boy is, and crying is not a part of it. And when I say it's a misnomer, it is an untruth, because when you cry, there's a cleansing of the soul. There's a cleansing of the spirit. Now, girls, of course, don't have that issue. Their range of emotions is a lot more mature than us. In fact, I'd like to say that young or males are kind of emotionally retarded, if you would. You know, we're slow in that area because we've been taught to stuff our emotions. We've been taught not to feel. And then, of course, as we get into relationships with the opposite sex, we don't know how to act because we have a feeling for you. We can't express the feeling because we haven't been taught to express this feeling. And the only feelings that we know how to express is either anger or joy. So when we're hurt, and that's where anger comes from hurt. And if that hurt is unaddressed, it turns to anger. And if that anger is unaddressed, it turns to rage. And that's what's being unleashed on society. And you've heard before that hurt people, right? Because they don't know any better. So fellas, this conversation is about let's getting for real with ourselves. See, we've got to be honest with ourselves. You've probably heard the phrase, to thine own self be true. We've got to be true to ourselves, because what happens to us in our immaturity in terms of emotion is that we have one little girl that we like, and if she doesn't respond to us liking her, okay, our feelings is hurt. And after our feelings hurt, because we don't show emotion, we can't express emotion. So the next little girl that we like is going to pay for the first little girl that didn't give us no love. You understand what I'm saying? And it's twisted because we don't have the level of maturity to deal with it. Even grown men are suffering this issue because nobody's ever cleared it up for them. It's like oftentimes guys learn from each other rather than learning from their moms how to love and how to care. You know what I mean? We all want to be considered men, but we don't even know what manhood is, because we learn manhood in the streets. We don't learn manhood rarely from home, because oftentimes dads aren't in the household to teach us what manhood is, and maybe 8 out of 10 times dad didn't know it either. So what am I saying to you? I'm saying that your emotions is like an emotional guidance system. It's sharing with you. If you're feeling poorly about something, it's because you're entertaining a thought that makes you feel poorly. Have you ever had a thought about yourself and didn't feel good about it? What do you think that is? Why do you think the discord takes place inside your being? May I offer you a suggestion? Offer you a perspective. Say that this very power in the universe that inhabits us, that it's thinking highly of us. It loves us immensely, unconditionally. And if we think a thought that's contrary to that, we feel bad. There's an argument that's taking place between our lower selves and our higher selves. So if you're thinking not enoughness, like you suffer from I'm not cute enough, or I'm not skinny enough, or I'm not smart enough, that not enoughness is a conversation that's a lie, because you're more than enough. But you're projecting some external thought because of how you compared yourself to someone else or someone else's ability that causes you to think less than of yourself. Does that make sense? So what am I saying? That we have looked at something outside of ourselves that we've compared ourselves to, and we don't feel that we measure up to them, rather than taking a step back and being grateful for who we are, what our gifts are, what we bring to the table, and be grateful for that, because that other person does not maybe hold a candle to who you really are. Even through history, as Black people, we've been taught self-hatred, self-loathing, about our color, about our hair. Mexican people, some of the same drama. But the point I'm trying to drive home to you is that we've got to get in touch with who we are. We've got to spend time in our space, because the only thing that we have control over is ourselves. We don't have control over what anyone else thinks. All we have control over is how we think and how we feel. And so if you understand that your emotion is energy in motion, and that you are projecting something by the way you feel, that is something within your control to address. If that makes sense to you, raise your hands. Okay. So if I am feeling some kind of way, I'm obviously entertaining a thought that's got me feeling that way. And I have the ability to shift that by just looking at myself from a different perspective. Wayne Dyer said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Because what happens is you change your perspective. So anytime you have that moment of discord, that you are feeling some kind of way about the way you are thinking, ask yourself the question, how does my higher self look at this situation? How does the God in me look at me? Is it look at me lovingly, or is it looking at me with judgment? I'm sure that if someone loves you, they are not judging you, right? Do you think that thought process would help you in any way? What do you think? Is it something you think you can implement in your life? To ask yourself, when you are thinking foul of you, that I know most Christians have done it from this perspective. They say, well, what would Jesus say? What would Jesus think? Right? But ask yourself, what would my higher being think of me if I'm thinking this way about myself? Just a thought, right? But oftentimes, us as young males, when that happened or when we got hurt, somebody went up to the table and they told the table, don't you hurt my baby no more, right? After you were hurt. Big boys don't cry, right? Well, see, they taught us right then, if something hurts us, we hurt it back. Hurt people, hurt people. If something hurts you, you hurt it back. We find ourselves in relationships that whatever first little girl that broke our heart in any way, every little girl that we meet after that has to pay for it. Right? We got to grow up and be bigger, fellas. We got to be true to ourselves. Be honest with ourselves. How about the idea that you running into somebody and say, oh, she pissed me off, or he pissed me off. Did they really? Or did you choose to get pissed off? Which is it? Which is it?